I know it sounds like the cliche thing to say, but I honestly struggled internally over whether or not I wanted to make this video. But after sitting back and watching how things are playing out, I feel like I had no choice but to say something. Because it's extremely hard for someone like me to sit back and say nothing when you notice that someone is self-destructing right in front of your face. It's extremely hard for someone like me to remain silent when you notice that someone is prematurely knocking on death's door. Like, I will sleep better tonight knowing that I said something and I tried reaching out. And when it comes to Nick Rekieta's current situation, I did just that. I said something and I tried reaching out. Now, to be clear, I don't know Nick and Nick doesn't know me personally. I know of Nick because he's a fellow YouTuber. Me and Nick share some of the same audience. YouTube lets you know what other channels your subscribers watch. And a lot of my subscribers on both my channels tune in to Nick Rekieta's live streams. So I was recently made aware of how bad he was currently doing. I was recently made aware that Nick Rekieta has recently been spiraling out of control. Now, I've tuned into some of Nick Rekieta's live streams before. I usually see Nick on other people's live streams. I don't watch his channel too much, but I see him when he pops on other live streams talking about pop culture and stuff like that. So for me, it was a huge shock seeing how he currently looks. Now, I'm not here to bash how he looks. I'm not here to judge him. Please don't get me wrong. But you see, the last time I saw Nick Rekieta, he looked like this. So when I recently saw him and he looked like this, it was very, very shocking for me. Like, I was not here watching him go downhill. I have not been here watching this progression. I guess his fans or his subscribers have been. Hopefully they've been saying something, but I know a lot of them have encouraged his behavior. However, from, someone who hasn't been nonstop watching him every day, seeing how he used to look and then seeing him now, it's very shocking. And it reminded me of my uncle. I lost my uncle a few months ago. Now, my uncle was a healthy dude. He was a linebacker in college, tall, strong, healthy, hefty, but he was a drinker. And he had been a drinker my whole life. People didn't think too much of it. It just became a regular thing. But eventually his liver started giving out. And I watched a perfectly healthy man go from looking like a linebacker to looking like a walking corpse in a few short months. And in my uncle's final days and weeks on this earth, he looked exactly like how Nick Rekieta looks in his recent live streams. The sunken in face, the discoloring of the skin, almost looking pale, sweaty, and yellow. And after seeing Nick Rekieta on one of those live streams where I don't know what on God's earth he was doing, I don't know if he was pleasing himself or what, but he was obviously under the influence of something or multiple things. After seeing that stream, I was inspired to reach out to Nick, to let him know that I had recently lost an uncle that was drinking too much, and to let Nick know, like, hey, I'm not here to judge you. And I understand, maybe you don't care about your problems, but if you could turn things around for your kids, that's what matters. If you don't want help for yourself, help yourself for your kids' sake. I reached out to Nick and told him that. Nick never replied. And a few days later, Nick got arrested. And I'm sure all of you all know about his arrest now, right? Now, to be clear, up until Nick's arrest, I thought that he was just battling with a drinking problem. I had no idea about these other addictions. And for the record, I reached out to Nick privately well before his arrest. So I don't want anyone thinking that this is just me showing concern after the fact, because I was actually dumb enough to believe that there was a small, itsy bitsy little chance that I could say something that would inspire Nick to change his life around. At the very least, I was dumb enough to think that there was a small, minuscule chance that I could say something that would stop things from getting to basically where they're at now. But obviously, that didn't work. And if you know me, it takes a lot. It takes a lot for me to reach out to someone. I like to stay to myself. I mind my own business. I'm a lone wolf. You know, fellow YouTubers who know me, they will tell you it's hard reaching out to me. And I basically never reach out to anyone else. So for me to reach out to Nick, it really means that I obviously felt like there was something really wrong. But I had no idea that things were as bad as what they were. Don't get me wrong, I saw Nick and I felt like Nick was close to death when I saw him on that stream that everyone is sharing. But I didn't know that Nick was battling with all of these other problems. But even after watching how bad his situation was getting, after watching it play out, I still never spoke on it publicly because I felt like it really wasn't my place. I thought about making a video, but I decided not to. And after he got arrested, I thought about making a video again. But ultimately, I decided not to because I said, you know what? It's not my place. Nick has a bunch of fellow YouTubers and lawyer buddies, and hopefully they will come together and form a strong support system for Nick. Hopefully Nick's, YouTube and YouTuber lawyer friends, hopefully they will provide Nick with a shoulder to lean on, and hopefully they will give him a helping hand. And I thought that that might be the case. But boy, oh boy, was I wrong. Because much like a lot of you all, after hearing about Nick's arrest, I went to YouTube. And to my surprise, all of the same faces that I would see streaming with Nick for hours, they were already making content about Nick's arrest. And I don't know what's sadder, what's happening with Nick or what's happening on YouTube right now. Because it shows you the true nature of these people. I know YouTube audiences, sometimes you watch these YouTubers live stream with these panels with half a dozen people and you think they're all good friends and you wish that you could have friends like them. There ain't no real friends on YouTube. Immediately, within a snap of a finger, these people went from treating Nick Rekieta like a real friend to treating him just like any other story that they can make content out of. They had no moral dilemma within themselves, no internal struggle trying to figure out, is it right or wrong to talk about this? No. Within minutes of Nick's arrest, they already had the live streams fired up, reading super chats, collecting that super chat money off of their friends' misfortune. And I think that's a sad sight to see. To see the same people who we all thought were Nick Rekieta's friends turn him into content that they can milk money out of. Now, I have no problem with people getting their money. I have no problem with people getting super chats. I'm a YouTuber. I collect donations. But collecting donations off of your friend's back while they're at their lowest moment is kind of disgusting if you ask me. And the excuse that all of these people are using, they're all using the same excuse. Well, if it was me, then Nick Rekieta would have done the same thing. Well, I guess that just shows what type of character you all have. Because from the outside looking in, Most rational people think it's disgusting when friends basically use their own friend's misfortune. They use their friend while he's at their lowest moment to boost their YouTube careers. And make no mistake about it, a lot of these people's YouTube careers were boosted by Nick. We wouldn't know who half of these people are if it wasn't for Nick. So it's really discouraging to see some of these same people. They're not showing it maybe on their faces, but they are loving this right now because everyone is going to be collecting money off of this story, talking about this story, and it's almost as if these people never knew Nick at all. And it's just crazy how quickly you go from friend to content. And this is why I said earlier, I stick to myself and I don't associate with too many people on YouTube, because most of these people who will claim to be your friend, all they want to do is use you for your platform, use you for your clout so they can get subscribers and get views from you. And at a moment's notice, when you are at your lowest, they will not hesitate to milk the situation and turn your lowest moments into YouTube content for them to grift off of. And we are currently watching that take place right now all weekend with all of these people who claimed to be Nick's friends. And to be clear, I'm not saying that everyone close to Nick is like this, because I know that some people have reached out privately and some people have even said things publicly. But you see, a lot of Nick Rekieta's fan base, they're like fake edgelords that pretend it's cool what Nick's going through right now. It's cool, it's edgy. They try to say the most edgiest jokes they can to get attention. And honestly, it's kind of sad. It's a sad situation overall, but people have spoke out about this publicly, and when you do, you get bashed. You get called soft. Oh, you're a big pussy for saying something about Nick Rekieta drinking. You should sit here and watch him self-destruct every day. Even though you're visibly noticing that he's dying right before your eyes, you're an asshole for saying anything. We should encourage this. Let's send Nick more super chats for more shots. So these people have been actively encouraging Nick Rekieta's demise. They get entertainment. They get entertainment out of watching him get drunk, black out, and spiral on live streams. And they bash and attack anyone who speaks out about it. Now, personally, I don't care about all of that, because I'm no stranger to having fan bases and subscriber bases attack me online. I deal with that every single day over on my main channel. Maybe not so much here, but I'm no stranger to this. I'm not going to cower away because some people say a few mean things. But the reality is that most people who have tried to help Nick over the last few months have been shut down by either Nick himself or by Nick's friends and Nick's fan base. And a lot of Nick's friends have encouraged this behavior. They have bashed people who have spoken out. And those same people are doing live streams right now laughing at Nick Rekieta. Laughing at Nick Rekieta's current situation. Now, I'm no pearl clutcher. I make fun of my friends all the time. My friends make fun of me. I bust their balls. They bust my balls. No diddy. So I understand poking fun at your friends when they do something stupid. So I understand if some of Nick Rekieta's friends want to privately crack jokes on him. I get it. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you publicly roast someone who's supposed to be your friend at their lowest moment, and it's not private, you're publicly bringing in the rest of the world to laugh at your friend, at your so-called friend. In his lowest moment, I think there's a big difference between you personally busting your friend's balls and bringing in a bunch of strangers in the outside world and bringing them into your friend's personal information to laugh at his personal misfortune. And there's nothing funny at the end of the day. There's nothing funny about someone wasting their life away with alcohol and drugs. There's nothing funny about Nick Rekieta's current situation. He looks like he's very close to death if he doesn't change his life around. There's nothing funny about him possibly losing his kids. There's nothing funny about this situation overall. Now, jokes can be made, and I'll laugh at some of the jokes. But at the end of the day, all I'll say is, with friends like this, who needs enemies, right? Who needs enemies? And Nick Rekieta is someone who I believe has already made his fair share of enemies. So he's already got plenty of people out there bashing him, making fun of him, covering his arrest and putting all types of stuff out there, blasting him. So you would think that at the very least, maybe his friends and his fellow streamers that he would stream with all day, those YouTube lawyers, you think that they could counterbalance this, but no. They've decided that it's more lucrative for them, it's more profitable for them to just pretend as if Nick Rekieta wasn't someone who made their YouTube career, to pretend as if Nick Rekieta wasn't a friend, and Nick Rekieta is just some random guy off the street, and we're going to treat his case just like anyone else's, and that's what they're doing. So right now, I gotta say that it's very sad. It's very sad that in Nick Rekieta's lowest moment, he doesn't really have anyone there for him in his corner. Publicly in his corner. It seems like publicly most people are against him. And, enablers always reach out and say the same thing. There's a lot of people who have sat by and they've watched Rekieta slowly waste away and they've said nothing. But they're now speaking up to police people like me who are now speaking out about the situation. And one thing you always hear when you're discussing addicts is you have enablers that will come out of the woodworks, people you've never heard from before, and they always have the same message. They always say the same exact thing. An addict has to help themselves. An addict has to want their own help. You can't help an addict. You can't help an addict. It's best not to say anything. They have to want to help themselves. They have to want to change their life around themselves. They always come with the same talking points. And yes, it's true. An addict does need to want to help themselves. Other people wanting help for them, other people wanting them to change, maybe it's not going to be enough. They have to want it for themselves. But at the same time, an addict that has a good support system is always more likely to make a turnaround as opposed to someone who has nobody. So these enablers that are crawling out of nowhere trying to tell people, don't say anything because Nick Rekieta is an addict and addicts got to help themselves. All of these weirdo enablers who sat by and entertained themselves and ate popcorn and peanuts while they watched Nick Rekieta get shit-faced drunk and high on live streams every day killing himself. All of those same people are now, oh, you shouldn't say anything because, addicts got to want to help themselves. Screw all of that. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm tired of that being a talking point every time addiction comes up because it's stupid. A good support system is always and will always be a very good thing. Sometimes an addict doesn't want to help themselves, but they change their lives around because of other people and how their addiction is affecting other people. There's never been a time where a good support system was a bad thing. So I know a lot of people want to make excuses and they want to shut people down who are concerned for Nick, because in reality, they've enabled this behavior. Some of them feel guilty because they have contributed to Nick Rekieta being where he's at now. And in all honesty, they don't want to see this end. They don't want to see this end. They want the train to keep rolling because they know it gets worse from here. And the worse it gets, the more content they can make off of the misery and the destruction of their so-called streaming YouTuber lawyer friend. Period. So with all of that being said, I'll just end it like this. I tried reaching out to Nick. I tried speaking about it publicly. And the reason I'm making this video is to encourage people who know Nick personally, people who are close to Nick. I'm making this video reaching out to you all because I reached out to Nick and it didn't work. So I'm reaching out to you all hoping that you all will talk to Nick, that you all will try to be a support system for Nick, and that maybe some of you all will do a little bit more than just live stream about Nick when he's at his lowest moments. Maybe some of you all can say something or do something to help. because Lord knows that Nick needs it right now. Nick needs a friend. Nick doesn't need a bunch of people on YouTube talking crap while pretending to be his friends. But with all of that being said, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all soon in the next one.